Okay, so today is September 22nd, 2019. Our sermon topic is Love is Resurrection. Next week's All Saints Day. It's about resurrection. People don't know that. They think it's about masks and monsters. It's not true. It's about people resurrecting from purgatory, by the way. That's what Catholics really thought. And so I'm going to prepare that, soften you up for those sermons by this one. And I am Reverend Walter Frank Jr., pastor of Family Church of San Diego. This is my family. There's my dad, my mom, all my kids and grandsons. So of all things that are important to me, I realize love in family is the most important thing, right? It's the only thing you can take with you. So let me come to the beginning of the sermon by explaining how we believe. Not just what we believe, but how we believe. Because there's many ways to believe. Methodism, one of my favorite other beliefs, right? What's the method in Methodism? You don't know? What's that? Service. But the method of Methodism, and let me make this clear, right? The method of Methodism is Matthew 25. When Jesus says, whoever visited a person in prison, whoever fed somebody who was hungry, whoever gave clothes to somebody who had no clothes, then he says, whoever did that to these people, you did it to me. So when they began Methodism, that's exactly what they thought. This is the method of salvation. This is the method of salvation, which is to serve the poor. That's why they've invented the Salvation Army. So they have a kind of understanding, an underlying foundation of their belief system, which is service. But not service to anybody. They don't serve rich people, for example. You have to be poor to be served. Anyhow, just kidding, sorry. Theistic rationalism is a hybrid of natural religion, Christianity, and rationalism, in which rationalism is the predominant element. Right? We're faithful people, right? We're faithful people, but we're not crazy people. We're faithful people, but not crazy. Theistic rationalists believe natural religion, Christianity, and rationalism typically coexist compatibly. So that's why in our church, Divine Principle, the first introduction says, we believe in both science and religion should be united together. Both the rational science and spirit-filled religion should be combined into one religion that will save all mankind. Right? With rational thought balancing the conflicts between the first two aspects. They often assert that the primary role of a person's religion should be to bolster morality, a fixture of daily life. So that's us, right? Theistic rationalists believe that God plays an active role in human life, rendering prayer effective. They accept parts of the Bible as divinely inspired, using reason as their criterion for what to accept or reject. So we reject when Jesus comes back, a sword for. We reject that that's a literal sword, right? We use rational thinking. That means his words are act like a sword, dividing good and evil. Right? We don't think he's going to have a real sword or that the breath of his lips will slay the wicked. We actually don't think, no, he's going to breathe on people and they're going to die. We do not think that. No. Because we're rationalist theologians. We're rational. Right? On the other hand, we do believe Jesus will come back and his words of truth will separate good people from evil people. And will kill evil people. And what does that mean? It means we die to our sin. I'm going to give up being a sinful person and I'm going to strive for morality every day, right? Okay, so their belief that God intervenes in human affairs and their approving attitude towards parts of the Bible distinguish theistic rationalists from deists. Deists think, look, it's impossible to believe the world just came here by a billion, trillions, gazillion good lucky chances and breaks, right? Like, for example, we're the only planet anybody's ever seen or any evidence that there's liquid water on the surface of this planet. There's no other planet like this. Anyway, I'm not going to do all those things. Deists think a good God turned the universe on like a machine, and now he left away, so when you pray, God, give me straight A's in school, you don't get them. You still get F's. They think, see, God's just out there somewhere. We think if you pray for straight A's in school, kids, you'll eventually get them. God will eventually answer your prayer, even if he has to smack you around a little bit. I won't tell that story again. Okay. True parents teach that love of family centered on God is the best road to happiness. Many people think there's many roads to happiness. Some people think celibacy is the road to happiness. Cutting off connections with the physical world is the best road to happiness. Some people think that rock and roll will lead to eternal happiness.
Oh my God.
Nevertheless, some people believe that. I don't believe that. Right? For example, now we have other roads we teach other things. They also teach, for example, CAUSA, pro-democracy, freedom of ownership, and accomplishment, like the 10 talents ideology. We believe in the 10 talents ideology. Follow obviously, go out and work hard. Whatever it was, go fishing, catch the most fish. Sell machines, sell the most machines. Whatever Father told us to do, he said, do it big, 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 big. We also do charities, visiting charities such as schools in Africa, which I strongly recommend you support schools in Africa. I have a regular donation every month, plus if I get a big boon fall amount of money, I give schools to Africa. Feed them. Feed those poor kids. Right? Mostly, however, the biggest part of our understanding is we believe in the two-parent, blessed family is the foundation for world peace. That's our biggest belief, right? We like CAUSA, and we fight communism ideologically. We don't actually hit anybody most of the time. But we believe that spiritually, the most important road to peace is the blessed family raising their children, right? So I was going to show you this last week, but this is the one I couldn't show because we had so many technical difficulties. This is parenting lessons from the longest running study on childhood ever. John, Kenny, you ready? I'm going to plug this in. You're going to hear a horrible buzzing sound, but just for a few minutes. Try to ignore it. Are you ignoring it?
What do you mean?
Okay, look, this is really important because this is us.
Children have been involved.
Would you wait, stop it. How did I make this go away? Stop it. No, stop, I said. Because I'm trying to make this bigger. I don't want to chat. Thank you, brothers. Thank you. God bless you.
Following thousands and thousands of children through their lives as part of an incredible scientific study. Altogether, more than 70,000 children have been involved in these studies across those 5 generations.
Okay, fine. Now, okay, sorry. Okay, start again, lady. Okay. Parenting lessons from the longest, biggest... Anyway, just listen to it.
For the last 70 years, scientists in Britain have been following thousands and thousands of children through their lives as part of an incredible scientific study. Altogether, more than 70,000 children have been involved in these studies across those 5 generations. In one study, scientists looked at about 17,000 children who were born in 1970. They sifted all the mountains of data that they had collected to try to work out what allowed the children who'd had a difficult start in life to go on and do well at school nevertheless. In other words, which ones beat the odds. The data showed that what...
Let me stop that. If you listen to the whole thing, she went through a whole thing about how kids born in poor societies, minority societies, all struggled worse than people born in more privileged societies, to use a bigoted term against white people. So, just kidding. So she said, how did minority kids, what was the difference that allowed minority kids to grow, develop, do really well? She's going to give you the answer right now. She's going to give you the answer right now. Try not to listen to the buzz while you're waiting. Do you think it's just me?
You might kind of set it back a little bit.
Oh, good idea. Thank you, Robert.
Oh, no.
Back a little more? Okay. Sorry.
Go on and do well at school nevertheless. In other words, which ones beat the odds? The data show that what
It's just stopping. It's not.
So go ahead, go ahead a little bit.
Yeah, maybe go forward.
You don't want to show the data.
Scratching the data.
Yes.
CNN is a video.
Yeah.
Google. No, it's Google, that's right. Censor. Censor. This is bad information because it might help you.
Okay.
do well at
Let's start all over.
For the last 70 years,
Okay, let's see if it works.
scientists have been following thousands and thousands of children. through
If
their
not, I'll
lives
just give you a
as part of an
synopsis.
Incredible scientific study. Altogether, more than 70,000 children have been involved in these studies across those 5 generations. In one study, scientists looked at about 17,000 children who were born in 1970. They sifted all the mountains of data that they had collected to try to work out what allowed the children who'd had a difficult start in life to go on and do well at school nevertheless. In other words, which ones beat the odds. The data showed that what
It's just not.
Maybe if it's a smaller picture. Yeah, but you have to get this one. It's not. There are many that are the whole thing, which are very long.
But this is on YouTube.
No, this is on Facebook. You have to get this one. I'm really sad. This is like the second time I try to do this one. It must be Satan.
You hear the bells last time?
No.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay. One more time.
Guess we were small. We listen, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Siapa's right.
Is that?
I think it's 2.5 minutes. Of course, now we have to go through my whole Facebook page. You can see all the things I look at. Girls with shotguns. LGBT to destroy Christianity. See, this is just the internet from this house. That's the problem. It's the internet.
DSL is contingent on how many people are using it at one time.
Well, let's make them all stop.
Maybe everybody whose phone is on Wi-Fi can.
Yeah, turn off your phone.
I got a 12-minute one.
Yeah, it's 12 minutes. It's too long. I want this one. Okay, anyway, let's forget it. Sorry, I wanted you to really see that because it makes the point of what true parents are teaching us, right? It makes the point of what true parents are teaching us. And by the way, let's stop the horrible buzzing. Okay, so true parents, their idea is that families, so what that lady did, what the British people did is they were socialists, Marxists, Leninists, atheists, studied all the children from poor communities, the children that did well. They said, what's the secret ingredient that made the children do well? Parents, parental involvement. Father and mother together, reading to them, taking them to the library, being invested in them, hugging them, loving them. They said that's the magic ingredient, right? That's exactly what true parents have been teaching for the last 50 years. That if we want a world of peace, we want a world of wealth, we want prosperous, healthy kids who love each other, then it's centered on the true parent family model that God began from the beginning of time, from the beginning of creation. God created us to be male and female, that the two should be one flesh, and they should dwell with God, loving God, and then their progeny would be blessed by God and be peaceful in the world. We're not designed to be killers and murderers. We're soft. No claws, no fangs, we're not designed to be a lion. We're designed to live soft lives in comfort. That's what we're designed to do, right? So, what's that? Okay, try it. Try it. John's going to try it now. This is attempt number 3. Oh yeah, perfect.
Gotta plug in the sound.
Put the sound on.
In these studies across those 5
Okay,
generations.
God bless God.
For the last 70 years, scientists in Britain have been following thousands and thousands of children through their lives as part of an incredible scientific study.
Okay, just let it go now.
70,000 children have been enrolled in these studies across those 5 generations. In one study, scientists looked at about 17,000 children who were born in 1970. They sifted all the mountains of data that they had collected to try to work out what allowed the children who'd had a difficult start in life to go on and do well at school nevertheless. In other words, which ones beat the odds. The data showed that what mattered more than anything else was parents. Having engaged, interested parents in those first few years of life was strongly linked to children going on to do well at school later on. In fact, quite small things that parents do are associated with good outcomes for children. Talking and listening to a child, responding to them warmly, teaching them their letters and numbers, taking them on trips and visits. Reading to children every day seems to be really important too. So in one study, children whose parents were reading to them daily when they were 5 and then showing an interest in their education at the age of 10 were significantly less likely to be in poverty at the age of 30 than those whose parents weren't doing those things. This is one study I particularly love. In this one, they looked at the bedtime routines of about 10,000 children born at the turn of the millennium. Were the children going to bed at regular times, or did they go to bed at different times during the week? The data showed that those children who were going to bed at different times were more likely to have behavioural problems, and then those that switched to having regular bedtimes often showed an improvement in behaviour. And that was really crucial because it suggested it was the bedtime routines that were really helping things get better for those kids. It seems that parents and what they do are really, really important, especially in the first few years of life. Parents really matter.
See? Now the reason I do this is because we're rational theists. We believe in the biblical story of Adam and Eve. God designed them to be one family. But then when you look at the scientific data, the study is that kids who actually follow biblical principles, whether they believe in the Bible or not, do better, aren't in poverty, are getting better grades, are having study, are healthier, stronger, smarter, faster, probably better looking. Right? So we think, so what true parents are teaching is the truth in both worlds. Both the spirit world, religious world, physical world, social world. What Father is teaching is the truth. The truth with a capital T, right? And we think Reverend Moon got his ideas, got this understanding from speaking directly with Jesus Christ. That God gave him this message. Look, this is my original message from before time, before I began anything. Before I created stars and planets, I believed in the two-parent family, right? From the beginning, God made them male and female, right? So, in our belief, Jesus was not accepted by the Jewish people of his day. John the Baptist failed to make the way straight for him, right? Everybody knows Jesus was killed by who? The Jewish people. Nevertheless, Jesus became the central figure of all human history. Western civilization, modern medicine, physical science, Western democracy, technology, air travel, modern hygiene, all stem from Jesus' life. Right? And you can listen to all my sermons on technology. I wanted to share with you some of the relationships he had with his disciples. So here's the big thing. How did he do it? How did he do it? It's not magic. We think, oh, he's just magic, son of God, magic, God made. No, it wasn't. He went through hell. Nevertheless, he still became the central figure of all human history. What was the magic that allowed him to do that? I'll cut to the chase. It was love. When he realized, right, John the Baptist, he walks away from John the Baptist. John has a big revelation. Jesus can feel, now he's not on my side. So what does Jesus do? He goes and fasts for 40 days in the desert, 40 days and 40 nights. After he does that, what does he do? He comes back and he finds his apostles. And what does he do then? He loves his apostles. He loves them so much that those struggling fishermen, tax collectors, whatever they were, became superheroes, became dynamic people who changed the world. How did they resurrect? is by directly receiving the love of Jesus Christ. Here, let me show you some of these things. Jesus loved his people like he continues to love us today. The reason Reverend Moon tells us how to have marriages, how to have families, how to have beautiful children. Don't pretty much everybody here have beautiful children in their family? Yeah, why? Because you were smart? No, because true parents taught us that's how we live our life, right? And so, where did true parents get their idea from? Jesus Christ. That's where they got the idea from, Mark 10. So, Reverend Mrs. Moon have never hurt anyone ever, right? How come? Because Jesus said, this is the foundation of God. I'm the Prince of Peace. You must be Prince of Peace. Jesus said you can judge a person by their fruit. Reverend Mrs. Moon only blessed people in marriage and inspired true love in families. I try hard to love my kids, to love my wife. Who made breakfast for you, sweetheart, today? See? See? What a man. Why? It's inspiration from true parents, from Jesus Christ. I make my wife breakfast every day. Even Kausa did not teach hurting the communists, only defeating them ideologically and then saving their lives. Right? And then saving their lives. So that's how we know. So we say Reverend Moon's message comes directly from Jesus. And that's why, even though he had thousands of people who were tough guys, right? Right? We could have hit people. We could have fought back. But Father said, no, never. No, never. Right. Jesus expressed love to everyone around him through the love of touch. Right? Through the love of touch. Watch. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you're willing, you can make me clean. What did Jesus do? Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. I love that. That's Jesus. This is real Jesus. Touched him. And he said, I'm willing to heal you. Go ahead and be clean. Immediately he was cured of his leprosy. Nobody touched lepers. They had to wear a bell. And no one would let them within 50 feet of them, right? But Jesus said, yeah, okay, son, you're sick. Here, let me hold you. If I hold you and touch you, my love will heal you. See? Jesus touched him and his love changed the man. Right? When Jesus came to Peter's house, he saw Peter's mother-in-law lying in a bed with a fever. He touched her hand. Right? He touched her hand and the fever left her and she got up and began to wait on him. Nice give and take action there, right? What did Jesus do? She's sick. He walks over and he touches her hand. Hi, sweetheart, don't worry. My love is going to heal you. You're going to feel better. Right? Next, when he had gone indoors, the blind men came to him and asked them, do you believe that I'm able to do this? Yes, Lord, they replied. Then he touched their eyes. He touched their eyes. According to your faith, it will be done to you. And their sight was restored. Jesus is always touching, always expressing love in a physical way, not just by magic. Of course, he gives the word, which is a physical sound, right? When the disciples heard this, they fell face down on the ground, terrified. This is right after the crucifixion. And Jesus walks into the room, and it says, and Jesus came and touched them. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. I'm with you, and I'll never leave you, right? That's what he said to them. I'll never leave you as orphans. I'm going to touch you, and I'm going to hold you, and someday on the other side, I have a whole house prepared for you. My Father's mansion has many rooms. I'm preparing one for you. Don't worry, right? And get up, he said. Don't be afraid. 2 blind men were sitting by the roadside. When they heard that he was going by, they shouted, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. The crowd rebuked them and told them, be quiet. But they shouted all the louder, Lord, Son of David, we have mercy on us. Jesus stopped and called them. What do you want me to do for you? He asked. Lord, they answered, we want our sight. Listen, this is Jesus. Jesus had compassion on them. And he touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight and followed him. He touched their eyes. Right? He didn't say get lost. He didn't say I'm too busy. Come back in the morning. This is my favorite. My favorite is where Jesus heals the blind people with spit. I'll tell you in a minute why I think that's my favorite one. After he took him aside away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's eyes, in the man's ears. Then he put his fingers in his ears. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. Right? He spit. I'm sure spit on his hand. Give me your tongue, you. And then he looked up into heaven with a deep sigh, said to him, I can't pronounce that. Ephaphatha, which means be opened. At this, the man's ears were open and his tongue was loosened and he began to speak plainly. You know why this is interesting to me? Because when I would go to Christian ministers, I would teach them about Jesus, right? Right? This is Jesus, and parental relationship. The only person who ever washes you with spit is who? Your mother. Your mother. I remember at school, I'd be 7 or 8 years old. She'd grab me. She'd grab me like this. Come here, you. Your face is dirty. Did you wash your face? And she'd spit on her fingers, and then she'd wash my face with spit, which nobody thinks is weird, right? Only your mother can wash your face with spit. Does that make sense to you? Only your eternal Father, Jesus Christ, can wash your face and heal you with spit. Nobody else does that, right? This is signifying, I'm your parent. I'm really your father. I'm actually more like your mother than your father today, and I'm going to wash you with my spit, and it's going to heal you. And it's not dirty. It's not awful, because you know why? Because we're the same body. We are one body with me. I'm Jesus Christ. I'm your Savior. We are one body. My spit's going to heal you. Isn't that amazing? That's who we're following. But that's not only who we're following, that's who we're striving to be. You don't have to wash each other with spit right now. Someday you can think that. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him outside to the village. When he spit on the man's eyes to put his hands on him, Jesus asked, do you see anything? It's another spit story. He looked and said, I see people, but they look like trees. So once more Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes, and his eyes were open and sight was already saw everything clearly, right? More spit. You might ask, what's your point, Pastor Frank? Very clearly. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Jesus had compassion on them. Losers. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight. Everywhere he went, he touched people. Touch people, touch people. Look, let me heal you. Be one body with me. I'm going to touch you. We're going to be one body. People are bringing little children to Jesus to have him touch them. But the disciples rebuked them. When Jesus saw this, he was indignant. He said to them, let the little children come to me and do not hinder them. For the kingdom of God belongs to such as these that tell you the truth. Anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it. And he took the children in his arms. He took the children in his arms, put his hands on them, and blessed them. And this is what changed the apostles. The apostles went from being fishermen to being lovers of human beings. Right? Remember, Paul says, greet each other when you come to church. Greet each other with a holy kiss. They would kiss and hug each other all the time. Why? Where did they learn that from? Jesus Christ himself. Now listen to this. Here's a mother, baby, kissing, loving, hugging. Latest research reveals the more you hug the kids, the smarter they get. Listen. The study included 125 babies, both premature and full term, and looked specifically at how they responded to being physically touched. Is Jesus right or is Jesus right? Perfectly right. Perfectly right 2,000 years ago. Perfectly right 2,000 years in the future. Jesus will still be correct. Babies that were subjected to more affection by parents or hospital staff showed stronger brain response. They found that a baby's earliest experience of being touched shaped the somatosensory brain scaffolding linked to cognitive, perceptual, and social development. It means if they hug them, they act better. That's all it means. They act nicer. Right? If you want to achieve world peace, love your children. Right? In another study, researchers found that touching and caressing also had a strong calming and what effect? Healing. What effect? Healing effect. Didn't Jesus just teach us that 2,000 years ago? In America, there are many teenage gangs. One sociologist made a survey on gangs which showed that more than 90% of the kids in those gangs have never heard the words, I love you, from their parents. Jails are full of 2 million young men and women who have never heard the words, I love you, from their parents. And that's why they're there. We as parents think, of course I love you. You're my child. That's obvious, but it's not obvious to your kids. That's why we have to love them, hug them, touch them, talk to them, pray with them, text them, write them, email them. Look at this, right? And listen. According to researcher Dr. Nathalie Maitre, this tells us that something as simple as body contact or rocking your baby in arms will make a big difference on how their brains develop, not to mention how their spirit develops, their emotional side, right? Making sure that preterm babies receive positive, supportive touch, such as skin-to-skin care by parents, is essential to help their brains respond to gentle touch in ways similar to those babies who experience an entire pregnancy inside their mother's womb. Maitre tells Science Daily. There's a scientific magazine. It says, look, love your kids, touch them, right? Hold them like this. Basically, affection is vital for the development of the brain. So cuddle and hug your babies as much as you can. And don't forget to share this research to show everyone out there how important it is to be loving your children. This is from a magazine called Science Daily. It's not a religious book, right? It's not Christians writing this. Actually, it could be Christian, but science. Science and Jesus. We are rationalistic theologians. We believe both in science and religion. Now we have more evidence that skin-to-skin contact can also decrease parental stress. As parents, we ought to be giving our children the best possible start in life, both in body and mind. From the earliest stage of their development, they absorb the vibrations of their environment. Make sure that's always an environment of love, care, and harmony. So simple, right? You can read Father's autobiography. It says exactly the same thing. Which in a minute we're going to read Father's autobiography. Here's another one, this very important one. Science says eat with your kids. Author Anne Fischel, Associate Clinical Professor of Psychology, Harvard Medical School. That's up there, right? That's up there in the atheist hierarchy. But what does she say? Listen. As a family therapist, I often have the impulse to tell families just go home and have dinner together rather than spending an hour with me. And 20 years of research in North America, Europe, and Australia back up my enthusiasm for family dinners. It turns out that sitting down for a nightly meal is great for the brain, the body, and the spirit. And that nightly dinner doesn't have to be a gourmet meal that took 3 hours to cook, nor does it need to be made with organic arugula and heirloom parsnips. Yeah. But having dinner together is magic. Listen, brain food. In one study, more than 5,000 Minnesota teens concluded that there are also associations between regular family dinners and good behaviors. When have you gone to a meeting with true parents where they didn't feed you? Don't true parents always have dinner for everybody all the time, even if there's hundreds of people there? Always. Always. There are also associated between regular family dinners and good behaviors. That's why Father's having dinner with you. In New Zealand, a study, a higher frequency of family meals was strongly associated with positive moods in adolescents. Your negative teenagers. Look, they're changing them by eating together. Similarly, other researchers have shown that teens who dine regularly with their families also have a more positive view of the future compared to their peers who don't eat with their parents. Isn't that amazing? This is science and theology. Jesus had the Last Supper with his apostles, fed them, had the first breakfast, and so on and so forth. Feeding the 5,000. And why is this? These are methods to create love. True loves in our life. You need to study this and you need to recreate this in your whole family so that, because these are the methods to create true love. Right? They're not just stories in the Bible about some mythical figure who lived a long time ago. They're rules and examples for you to live your life today as a husband and as a wife. That makes sense? Words of love are easy with babies, right? We also need to speak words of love to our adult children and husbands and wives. We think, okay, he's big now, I don't need to be nice to him anymore. I need to just yell at my husband and tell him to clean up or work harder or make more money or whatever, right? We just need to be meaner to people, and then they'll behave better. It's 100% wrong. 100% wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want your husbands and wives to do better, what do you have to do?
Love them.
You have to love them. You have to hug. You have to love your enemy. even if you're married to them. Just kidding. Just kidding. But this is what Jesus is teaching us. Hug. If you want your husband to be smarter, faster, stronger, and better looking, dress better, be cleaner, and have better hygiene, what do you need to do, ladies? You need to hug them. You need to hug them. Hold their hand. Right? You need to love them. That's the key. Same with your teenagers, same with everybody. It doesn't change when we get bigger. The worst thing that can happen to you is to be alone and be unloved. The worst thing that can happen to you is to be unloved. That's why Jesus says, love everybody. Does that make sense? That's what we're trying to teach. That's what we believe in. That's true family values part of divine principle. Everything, it's a rock. It's a cornerstone. It's a cornerstone of raising children of true love and creating world peace. We're going to skip this one. Skip it. Skip it, I said. Okay. Jesus gave words of love, right? He gave words of love. Lots of words. I'll never leave you as orphans. I'll never leave you. My Father's house has many mansions. And when you die, I'm going to come and greet you myself. St. Stephen, when he was killed, what did Jesus do? He came and greeted St. Stephen himself as he was dying. St. Paul, all those guys. He loved them and touched them. Jesus also fed them. Like I say all the time, there's a Last Supper, First Supper, many suppers in between, breakfast, lunches, fed the 5,000, fed everybody, right? Jesus touched them, as I showed. Jesus touched them all. Jesus loved and trusted them. Therefore, the apostles were reborn by the love of Jesus. When Jesus lost John the Baptist, he had to go somewhere. There was no one like John the Baptist. John was the greatest born amongst women, but the least in the kingdom of heaven was greater than he. So where could Jesus go? Jesus thought, I have to change them. These people will follow me, but they're just not good enough. I'm going to change them. How? By yelling at them? Hitting them with sticks? No. By loving them, by touching them, by healing them, by eating with them, by talking to them, by comforting them. That's how he resurrected them. And that's how we resurrect our families. That's how we resurrect our wives, and that's how we resurrect our husbands. And that's why we're trying to teach people in the fallen world. That's why we're blessing people. Right? Resurrected back to life. This is the beginning of resurrection on earth that eventually leads to the benefits of life that we have today. That's how he did it. That was Jesus' method. Jesus was faced with an incredibly difficult situation. I believe he prayed to God during the 40 days and 40 nights, God, I'm going to do what I can with what I have. I only have these poor fishermen, tax collectors, losers, whatever. But I'm going to turn them into apostles, and they're going to be my flesh on the earth. Right? That's what happened. Why do we need to touch each other? Why did Jesus need to touch people? Comes back to this question. Why do we have physical bodies anyway? Multiply, okay. Why do we have physical bodies? What does divine principle say? Why do you have a physical body? I can't hear you.
So God can dwell in
Spirit's love.
You have to have a physical body.
That's exactly right. Most of you are right, because we know the divine principle, right? Divine principle says your physical body is necessary for your spirit to grow. In fact, it says directly, our spirit body grows in the soil of our physical body. That's why Jesus has to touch you physically. That's why you have to touch your wife and husband physically. So when we say we love each other, we have to physically love each other so that our spiritual body can grow. But that's why we think, Sept and I love to touch and hug our grandson. Because not only do we just naturally love him, we know divine principle-wise, for a grandson to grow, we have to hug him. He must feel physical love. So the spirit body grows, the physical body must feel love. Does that make sense? Yeah. He must hear song. You have to sing to him. When he was born, Sept began singing to him, right? And now he still remembers that song. When Sept begins to sing that song to him, he lights up like that, right? It's physical love. We all have to receive and we all have to give physical love to each other for our spirit body to grow. That's what this means. That's what this means. Our spirit body grows in the soil of our physical body. That's why we have to have a physical body. And that's why you have to hug your wife. That's why you have to hug your husband. That's why you have to hug your kids. That's why you have to have dinner with them. You have to feed them not only spiritual food, you have to give them physical food too. They must receive physical food from you. Food they like, usually, mostly. That's why Jesus came in the flesh, not in the spirit. He had to appear on earth in the flesh to give people on earth fleshly love. Holy fleshly love. Right? And then they can grow up, become apostles, change, and save all mankind. Right? And that is why true parents must come in physical form on the earth. Right? Didn't Father touch you? When Father would have, even though there'd be 500 people in the room at Belvedere, right? But Father would always touch guys and hit girls and do all these things. Always, right? He always did that. So, we're families. We believe in the family movement. The families can touch each other, right? You can't just normally walk up to people and touch them. You go to jail. But in our families, you have every right. Husband, right? I can't just touch women, and right? Church women, don't I never touch you? I never touch you guys. Men I touch all the time. But women I don't, because our church believes we're separate. Siapa already won the lottery. Husbands and wives, you can touch each other all you want. You can't touch other women, men, but you can touch your wife all you want. Your wife should never be without you touching her. Holding hands, hugging, kissing, you can do all those things. In fact, you're supposed to do all those things. That's how she's supposed to be resurrected. But the soil of her physical body must receive husband's love, physically touching, caressing, kissing, feeding, all those things, right? And then their spirit body will grow, and they'll become like true Eve, like true mother, right? Hold hands. No one suggests not holding or cooing to a baby, right? No one, anybody would think a baby crying in a crib. It's a crime to let that baby cry in the crib. It's a crime to let that baby alone. It's a crime. It's a crime to leave your spouses alone. It's a crime to not touch, cuddle, coo, caress your husband or your wife. It's a crime. It doesn't change the older we get. Cuddle together and watch a movie together. That's what Damon would say. Look, you guys are going to watch television. You're going to waste time watching television anyway. So why don't you hold hands while you're watching television? Get some life elements out of it. Damon said that. What number 7 on Damon's list of happy families? Hold hands while you're watching television. So therefore, we should touch each other and massage each other, caress each other. Don't waste your opportunity to create an unbreakable bond of love here on the earth, because we need, when our body goes away, and your body is going to go away, how high have you grown? How high have you grown? You have to think about that. Are you going to be a 1 talent person, 0 talent person, 10 talent person? What are you going to be? Be a 10 talent person. Let the woman you love absolutely know love. Father and mother never appear without holding hands. And here's true father, strongest man in the world. What's he doing? He's carrying mother's purse for her. How unmanly for true father. How unmanly. This is the image of masculinity on earth. Holding his wife's purse. Right? How about this? Look at father's hands are always on mother. Always hugging, touch. Why did he do that? He said clearly, this is your example of how you should be. I'm doing this so you will follow my example. Right? Holding hands, dancing, singing, laughing. Look at that big kiss in public, in front of everybody. Was true father embarrassed? No. Mother may have been a little embarrassed. But nevertheless, kissing in public. Why? To show you how you should live your life. Right? Kings and queens holding hands. Look at this one. I love this one. This is a great picture. 1,000 members back here. And this is how Father taught us to hold hands and pray. Like this. See? See? Father's right hand is over mother's left hand. And mother's right hand is over father's left hand. Because it expresses equality between husband and wife. And expresses one body. One body, that they're one circular movement. Remember on our Unification Church sign, there's a circle, right? 2 circles together. That's what this is. This is the 2 circles from the Unification Church sign in physical life between human beings. This is the living example of what the circle in our 12, what do we call that thing? 12 gates of heaven symbol, sorry. You know, I do too many things, right? So this is how we hold hands. And Father said, pray together as a couple holding hands. Not one person over there and one person over there. Hold hands and pray to God. Hold hands and pray to God. Yes, we have a large macroscopic responsibility to prepare for God's central figure of the age. Yeah, we have to go out. You have to visit ministers. You have to do all these things, yes. But also our job is resurrecting our own families. We are families, right? Families should eat together. Family, that is why Jesus fed the apostles. That is why true parents always fed us. That is why we have a lunch here every Sunday. Did you know we have a lunch here every Sunday? Do you know why we do that? It's the exact same tradition of Jesus Christ. It's a tradition of the Jews having eaten manna and quail in the desert. It's a tradition of Abraham. When the 3 angels come to visit him, what does he do? Sarah, Sarah, quick, make dinner. Hurry up, cook something now, hurry up. Right? It's the same tradition. This is the heavenly tradition we always believe in. There is something magic about eating together, so don't waste your opportunity by eating alone. We say we have a God-centered love which is greater than a love centered upon physical attraction or wealth. Some people get married because they think they have a gorgeous wife. Not us. Just kidding. Just kidding. We do. or they get married because you can lose wealth or attraction. God is eternal, so therefore our love should be eternal. God exists in a reciprocal relationship of dual characteristics. So we should love each other based upon our eternal minds, the minds and character of our spouses. Right? This is so important. We have a spirit, we have a physical body. We have a spirit in our physical body, and it's our spirit that has to grow. Not based upon our bodily desires or external conditions, right? I teach, I believe. When I heard the divine principle the first time, I thought, this is the truth. I believe we are in touch with only one real thing on earth, one thing that's going to last, right? That's true love. That's love, right? Of all things, I believe from divine principle, it is that love, true love, is eternal, gives us life and is life. Gives us life and is our life. We need, for the sake of all others, to perfect love in our families on earth. That is the most truly important use of our lives today, right? We are setting the foundation for all eternity and all people. So let's use our time wisely. Amen? Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. I appreciate your listening. John has bailed on us. Can someone turn off the camera? Thank you, Sirius. Because we don't want to record what I'm just going to say next.